What's going on, everyone? Welcome back into Behind the Arc Basketball. What an incredible NCAA tournament it has been. It's just been amazing streaming play-by-play of these great games throughout the March Madness tournament. If you haven't tuned into one of my play-by-play live streams before, I would highly recommend it. In this video, I'm going to do my Final Four preview with a nightcap of the second matchup starting off on Saturday around 8:49 p.m. It'll be between the number 5 seed, the Miami Hurricanes, taking on the number 4 seed, the UConn Huskies. Now, let's get into the preview. Now we take a look at the number 5 seed, back-to-back Elite 8 appearances with the Miami Hurricanes. The Canes had the toughest road to the Final Four, winning over a dark horse 12 seed with Drake, a 4 seed with an All-American with Trace Jackson Davis in Indiana, a 1 seed with Houston, which had the number 2 ranked defense in all college basketball, and then Miami winning over the 2 seed Texas, which had been playing its best basketball for the last week of the season leading up to the tournament. Back in 2006, Jim Larrañaga took 11-seeded George Mason to the Final Four as a Cinderella number 11 seed. Now Miami coming off back-to-back Elite 8 appearances under Larrañaga and in the Final Four for the first time in program history. For a program that's been thought of for years as a football school, Miami, with their basketball program, they are crushing it the last 2 seasons. Their basketball program was actually dropped in 1971 before it was reinstated again in 1985. Miami's been so resilient this season. They made amazing adjustments in the second half to get here with 2 big comebacks in the tournament. Now we take a look at the number 4 seed, the UConn Huskies. UConn basketball back once again as they have used this tournament to send America a message that Connecticut basketball is back and there's nobody stopping us, as UConn is the only team in the field that has won a national championship. UConn has won 4 national championships, all within the previous 25 years, 1999, 2004, 2011, and 2014. UConn also 4-1 in Final Four games, with the only loss to Michigan State back in 2009. The Huskies are a perfect 4-for-4 in a national championship game. The last 3 national championships for UConn, they have all won those out in the state of Texas. UConn is gunning hot right at the right time, going 10-1 in their last 11 games. They are 13-2 in their past 15 games, with their 2 losses in that stretch by a combined 5 points. This UConn team started out red hot, 14-0 record to start off the season, and they're looking to finish how they started, on a winning streak to close out the season. After an 11-point loss against St. John's back in mid-January, UConn has only lost 4 games by a combined 9 points. This UConn team, they are an absolute machine. They have had so many strong second-half games this tournament. In year 5 with head coach Dan Hurley, he has done an amazing job turning around not only this program, but previous programs that he had coached prior to UConn. In his first head coaching stint at Wagner University, Hurley turned Wagner from a 13-17 record in year 1 to a 25-6 record in year 2. At URI, Hurley took a rebuilding 8-21 Rhode Island team in year 1 to 2 straight NCAA tournament appearances in 2017 and 2018. And in 2017, URI was 3 points away from knocking off Dillon Brooks in Oregon in the second round of the 2017 NCAA tournament. There was a ton of pressure entering this tournament coming in for UConn to live up to expectations. They were bounced out the previous 2 years against Maryland and New Mexico State in 2 straight tournaments. UConn, they got over the hump. They beat Iona in the first round, and now they have a legitimate chance to win their 5th national championship. We will now take a look at Miami's NCAA tournament path to get here to the Final Four. In my opinion, this is the most challenging path out of any team to get to the Final Four. Miami showed incredible resiliency with 2 come-from-behind victories against Drake and Texas in the tournament. They are plus 46 in second-half differential, outscoring opponents 181 to 135 in the second half. In the first round, Miami winning over the number 12 seed Drake 63-56. We weren't even sure if North Chatham-Muir would be available in this game. The betting line was close, with Miami being only a 2-point favorite entering this matchup. A lot of people picked an experienced Drake squad, me myself included, on that pick there, but Miami, they were trailing. They closed out the game and won on a 16-1 run in the last 5 minutes to come from 8 points down to pick up the victory. In the second round, Miami winning over the number 4 seed Indiana 85-69. Miami dominated this game from the start. Indiana, they did creep back in the matchup, but Miami, they would not let IU back in as the Canes took the win against Indiana. Sweet 16 round, Miami. Impressive victory over the number 1 seed Houston, 89-75. The Canes lit up the number 2 team in total defense with 89 total points. The entire starting 5 scored in double figures for the Canes as Miami went 11 for 25 from 3-point range. Nigel Pack made 7 threes, and Miami committed just 6 total turnovers, preventing Houston from a Final Four trip in their home city. And then in the Elite 8, Miami winning over the number 2 seed Texas 88-81. Another come-from-behind victory as Miami overcame a 13-point deficit with 13 minutes left to come back and win. Once again, the entire starting 5 scored in double figures. Jordan Miller, he had a game for the ages, shooting a perfect game line, 7 for 7 from the floor, and 13 for 13 at the free throw line, scoring 27 points. Now we take a look at UConn's NCAA tournament path to get here. UConn, super strong second halves they have had in this bracket. They are plus 67 in second half point differential. UConn's outscoring opponents in the second half 174-107. The Huskies have won against 4 incredible coaches: Rick Pitino, Randy Bennett, Eric Musselman, and Mark Few. In the first round, UConn knocking off the number 13 seed Iona 87-63. This was a high-quality shot-making game with an electric atmosphere to start off the first half of this game. Iona led at halftime 39-37. UConn, though, they just dominated the second half, 50-24 in the box score. Adama Sanogo had 28 points and 13 rebounds. In the second round, UConn winning over the number 5 seed St. Mary's 70-55. UConn trailed for most of the first half. Tristan Newton hit a 3 at the buzzer to put UConn up by 1 at halftime, and then UConn outscored St. Mary's 39-25 in the second half. In the Sweet 16, UConn won over the number 8 seed Arkansas 88-65. Right from the get-go, the Huskies dominated this game as they lit up a Hogs defense that hangs his hat. On the defensive side of the ball, UConn shot the ball over 57% from the floor. And then in the Elite 8, UConn winning over the number 3 seed Gonzaga, commanding fashion, 82-54. It was close in the first half. UConn led by 7 points at halftime, but then foul trouble with Drew Timme took the Zags completely out of the game. Jordan Hawkins in the second half, he was lights out, gut on fire, drilling 6 threes, scoring 20 points, and the game was over in the first 22 minutes as UConn took control. In the first 2 minutes of the second half, UConn held the number 1 offensive team in the nation, Gonzaga, to score just 54 points, 33 points below their season average, as the Huskies outscored the Zags 43-22 in the second half. We will take a look at the strengths of this matchup for Miami. Number 1, guard play and offense. When you think that Miami's just out of the game, think again. That's how last Sunday against Texas went. The Canes in the tournament have outscored opponents in the second half 181-135. They are plus 46 in second half point differential. Miami ranks 21st in scoring this season. The Canes go with a 4-guard, 1 forward starting 5. All 4 players in the backcourt are averaging over 8 points per game. Plus, the top frontcourt player, Norchad Omier, is averaging a double-double. This Canes guard play has been absolutely tremendous. That's why it's made back-to-back deep runs in March. Once again, Miami's got fast, athletic guards who can rely on pushing the pace, spacing the floor, winning their offense. The Canes have multiple players that can go get you a bucket. They can score in a variety of ways. The Canes shot 27 for 41 at over 65% from the floor from 2-point range against Texas, realizing that Texas had very little resistance at the rim without Dylan Dessou out on the floor. Miami will look to be the aggressor and attack the rim. They can also drill threes as well, like they did against Houston. The Canes exploded to shoot 11 for 25 from 3-point range and dropped down 89 points against the number 2 ranked defense in the nation. Nigel Pack was a giant killer in that game. He made 7 threes for the Canes. Number 2 for Miami is free throw shooting. Miami ranks 12th in the nation, shooting 78% at the free throw line. During the past 2 games, Miami shooting the ball at an incredible clip, 44 for 51 at the free throw line, above 86%. If this game goes right down to the wire, there's a good chance that the Canes could take it because they have the free throw shooting to knock down shots just simply automatic at the free throw line. All 5 starters for the Canes are shooting at least 73% at the free throw line. Nigel Pack, Isaiah Wong, and Wooga Poplar all shooting the ball above 84% at the charity stripe. Number 3 is ball handling. Miami's taking great care of the basketball in the past 6 games. The Canes have committed just 12 total turnovers or fewer. In the previous 6 games, they're averaging around 9 turnovers per game. That is just remarkable because of how fast of a pace that Miami plays at. And the Canes committed just 6 total turnovers. all game long in their Sweet 16 matchup with a victory over Houston. Now we will take a look at the strengths of UConn. Number 1 is depth. This is a super deep UConn Husky squad. They go 9 players deep, averaging anywhere from 13 to 30 minutes per game. UConn's bench averaging around 21 points per game in this tournament. The Huskies have all the pieces of a national championship squad. They are led by a physical big man with Adama Sanogo. He's making over 63% of his shots from 2. Jordan Hawkins, projected as a first-round draft pick. He can take over the game with his sharpshooting ability to knock down tough contested threes off the catch. Lead guard Tristan Newton, ranked 3rd in the American last season at East Carolina in scoring, prior to transferring off to UConn. 4-star freshman Alex Caraban, he is shooting above 40% from three-point range. Andre Jackson, he just impacts the game at all different levels on the floor. He is a point forward for UConn, just a great impact player, glue guy for the team. He has 31 total assists to just 6 total turnovers in the tournament. Jackson flirted with a triple-double with 8 points, 9 boards, and 10 dimes against Gonzaga. Off the bench, the Huskies have a big man with first-year 7'2" freshman Donovan Clingan. He creates mismatch issues all over the floor. Clingan is averaging around 7 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, and over 2 blocks per game in just 12.5 minutes per game in this tournament. Another first-year player with Joey Calcaterra, he can come off the bench, give UConn a spark from the perimeter. Naheem Aline was a 3-year starter at Virginia Tech prior to UConn. He scored a career-high 28 points against Florida, including a buzzer beater, to send the game into overtime in the first round of the 2021 NCAA tournament. And here's Aline accepting his role on a deep team with championship pedigree coming off the bench. Just with all this depth, no wonder why UConn is super balanced and can give opposing teams different looks in a lot of trouble. UConn currently is ranked number 1 in KenPom in adjusted efficiency. They are number 3 in adjusted offense and number 11 in adjusted defense. This Huskies team, especially with their depth, is just an absolute machine with so many moving pieces out on the floor. Number 2 for UConn is rebounding, specifically offensive rebounding. UConn ranks 10th in the nation in offensive rebounds per game. They rank number 2 in the nation in offensive rebounding percentage. Getting those second chance opportunities, it is just so key for UConn because they execute at a high percentage off the second chance opportunity after the initial miss. The Huskies constantly crash the glass. They rank number 12 in rebounds per game. Number 3 is playmaking. UConn ranks 4th in the nation, averaging over 17 assists per game. Andre Jackson has just taken the squad to a whole nother level, playing a point forward role in the offense as a utility player. Jackson's been incredible this tournament. He's tallying 31 total assists to just 6 total turnovers. Him and lead guard Tristan Newton are both averaging 4.7 assists per game. UConn's been moving the ball at a great clip throughout the tournament. 82 assists to just 43 total turnovers. That's a 1.9 assist to turnover ratio. Now we will get to the keys of the game. We'll take a look first here at the Miami Hurricanes. Number 1 for the Canes is to limit UConn's second chance opportunities. Miami will need to limit UConn to just 1 shot per possession. UConn ranks 2nd in the nation in offensive rebounding percentage. UConn also ranks 10th in the nation, averaging over 13 offensive rebounds per game. Norchad Omier for Miami, he is averaging a double-double of 13 and 10. He will have his hands full with 6'9" Adama Sanogo and 7'2" Donovan Clingan. Also 6'6" Andre Jackson. Omier at 6'7" for the Canes. He plays well above his listed height. He will need to do everything possible to have a massive game himself for Omier to limit those second chance opportunities that UConn will get. Number 2 for Miami is to put together defensive stops. The Canes need to have their best defensive game of the tournament in their best defensive game this season. They're not known for their strong defense, and they most likely will have to win via a track meet in this type of matchup. Miami will have to hang in the game as much as possible, and they have been great in the second half. But UConn, they have just been another animal in the second half as well. The Canes just cannot let Jordan Hawkins get hot from three-point range, especially at the start of the second half, or this game will be over in the first 25 minutes. Hawkins made 6 threes against Gonzaga. He is really good coming off screens, drilling threes off the catch. It just felt like Hawkins' threes to start off the second half against Gonzaga felt more like 6 points. That's how big every single three he made, and that's how massive a run that UConn started off half number 2 against the Zags. For Miami, they just have to pray that UConn is called not on their game tonight and missing shots with an off game so the Canes could have a chance to win. Gonzaga happened to hang in early against UConn because UConn was taking low percentage shots early in the shot clock. Miami will see if they can force UConn into more low percentage shots in this game to have their best defensive game of the season to give the Canes a chance. And number 3 for Miami is to pressure UConn into turnovers. If there's one weakness of UConn, it is the turnover struggles at times. The Huskies average just under 13 total turnovers per game. They rank 233rd in the nation in turnover percentage rate. Miami will not only need to win the turnover battle, but also they will have to force a bunch of UConn turnovers. In UConn's worst game this season, St. John's forced 20 total turnovers. In the Sweet 16, Arkansas started to press UConn in the second half, and the Hogs were able to score points off full court pressure. UConn turned the ball over 15 times against Arkansas, but against Gonzaga, they only turned it over 7 times because the Zags did not pressure UConn right from the start of that game. Now we take a look at the keys of the game for the UConn Huskies. Number 1, dominate the glass. UConn just so dominant, they have a big size advantage entering tonight's Final Four. They thrive on second chance scoring. The Huskies rank 10th in the nation in offensive rebounds per game, number 2 in the nation in offensive rebounding percentage. Getting those second chance opportunities, they are absolutely crucial, and they are led by a key cog down low, 6'9" Adama Sanogo, 7'2" Dominic Klingon. Miami's key front court player, Norchad Omier, at 6'7", averaging a double-double. He does play well above his listed height, but UConn will look to see if they can out-rebound Omier in this matchup. Number 2 for UConn, dominate the interior scoring. Adama Sanogo, he could be the force in this game and potentially have a monster game. UConn is 19-0 all-time when Sanogo has scored 20 points or greater. The big defensive weakness for the Canes this season has been interior defense. Miami ranks 275th in the nation in two-point defense. UConn comes into this matchup ranked just inside the top 50 in two-point shooting efficiency. Number 3 for UConn, stopping Miami's explosive offense. This is the strong suit for the Canes. Miami's averaging around 81.3 points per game in the tournament. UConn's actually averaging a tad higher, 81.8 points per game this tournament. But UConn, the difference here is that their defense has been locked down. Their defense allowing opponents to just above 59 points per game through 4 NCAA tournament games. UConn just shut down the number 1 scoring team in the nation, allowing 54 points to the Zags. But unlike the previous matchup where UConn had a key in on just Drew Timme basically for Gonzaga, Miami has a good chunk of players that can go get a bucket. Jordan Miller, Isaiah Wong, Nigel Pack, Norchad Omier, Wooga Poplar, an X factor for this team. All 5 players can go score baskets for Miami. The Canes will look to see if they can attack and beat the aggressor and put UConn into foul trouble. The key for UConn happens to be their depth, specifically at the 5 spot with Adama Sanogo and Donovan Klingon, who should be able to take Miami away from the rim and lead to lower percentage shots taken by the Canes in this game. UConn forced Gonzaga to shoot just 18 for 40 from two-point range for one of the top efficient teams in the nation. If UConn is able to stop Miami's explosive offense, then UConn can completely take Miami right out of this game. And now it's on to my score prediction here. An incredible season for Miami. Deep run once again. Elite 8 last year. Final 4 this year. But I'm predicting that Miami's resilient run will end against UConn in this matchup. This UConn team is just an absolute machine. And I have to go with what I originally picked. I picked UConn in my initial bracket to make the national championship game. And they have to stick with it. I've got the Huskies winning 85-79 over Miami. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Also, check out my other Final Four preview with the first matchup between Florida Atlantic versus San Diego State tonight. The link to my other preview is posted in the description below this video. Make sure to catch my play-by-play live streams of the Final Four tonight and the National Championship game on Monday night. Make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, as this has been my Final Four preview. Miami versus UConn on Behind the Arc Basketball.